Hi, my name is Blake Martin, and I'm excited to talk about my research about incarceration to you all. This past school year, I have been pursuing further research about incarceration and recidivism rates in Kansas City and assessing the negative impacts they have on society. Prior to doing this research, I created an essential question that would ask, are prisons and rehabilitation centers doing enough to prepare inmates for re-entry back into society in Kansas City? Now, I stuck with this research question throughout my journey, and my opinions about incarceration have changed immensely. Prior to doing any research, I had the preconceived notion that prisons and rehabilitation centers were ineffectively preparing their inmates for life outside of incarceration. I believed this claim for a good portion of my life, especially after watching Shawshank Redemption, which portrayed the hardships of prisons and how inmates were becoming institutionalized while inside prison. These were not the only reasons I felt that prisons and rehabilitation centers were failing. I also saw the statistics of recidivism rates in Kansas City, which reported that 36% of inmates return to prison after their initial release. This is a significant amount of inmates who are returning to prison, and after seeing these numbers, I immediately jumped to conclusions and blamed the institution and rehabilitation centers. I stuck with this claim for a while, but then I began to seriously look through my research where I would unfold information that would make me reconsider my initial opinion. Prisons, juvenile justice programs, parole, and other correction programs make up about 5% of Kansas's budget, which is a small portion in comparison to other state-funded programs. Now, after seeing more and more information about the limited funding going to these facilities, my opinion began to shift, and I started to blame prisons and rehabilitation centers much less for the recidivism rates in Kansas City. There on out, the way I approached my research about incarceration and recidivism rates changed from being very critical of these rehabilitation to being much more understanding of their situation. These institutions need support and funding in order to be successful in their services, and I realized that this is something they simply were not getting. But the good news is that there are many organizations in the KC Metro that are beginning to address this issue. Organizations such as Second Chance are making a difference in Kansas City and are gaining rapid support to increase the level of funding that rehabilitation programs receive.